Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening to everybody. Welcome to the Lewis Sports Network, and I am back once again with another heavy hitter banger with yet another live stream video. You guys already know the drill, man. Before we get started, make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you guys are sharing the stream as you guys come in. Let me know who is in the building. We are talking about arguably the most forgotten Laker in Laker history, and definitely one of the most forgotten players in NBA history, Mr. Elgin Baylor. So again, smash the like, hit that subscribe as you guys come in. Shout out to Weiss, appreciate you. And we got 7 people watching already. And I want to give a shout out to my special guest that is in here for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Hope I'm saying this right. Tyree is your name?
Tyree.
Tyree, all right, Tyree, man. Shout out to Tyree Love,
I,
who was in here.
I appreciate you having me, man. I'm a big fan of your show, brother.
All right, man. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you're able to come. And so this is my special guest, Tyree Love. He's been watching me from the very beginning, from the time he said that I had 8 subscribers. So I truly appreciate the support. So appreciate it, man. Definitely coming through. Shout out to Sly. Smash the like, hit that subscribe. We're about to learn some NBA history, and we need to start appreciating uh, the players that played in the past, because what's dominating headlines, obviously, it's the Last Dance documentary, but people are focusing too much on this LeBron Jordan debate. So I said I'm gonna go back and give respect to the other players that definitely helped pave the way, man, for players today. So hopefully, Duality, because I sent them an email as well. So hopefully, if he has time, he'll be able to come in. But yo, man, appreciate you being here, man. It's good to have you, man. To be on as a guest for the first time, and so how's your day going, man? How's everything going with you, bro?
You talking to me or Sly?
No. I'm talking to you, bro.
It's been good, man. It's been a long day, and I'm just glad to be here.
All right, cool. All right, so we're gonna get started. Again, guys, smash the like and hit that subscribe. So I gotta ask you, man. We talk about great NBA players. I feel like that. That Elgin Baylor, he's definitely one of the all-time greats, but he doesn't get talked about so much. And my question to you, Tyree, is why do you think that as great as Elgin Baylor is, he doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to all-time great players, man? What's your take on that?
My take on it is I don't think people go back and look up players that came before current modern day players.
Mm-hmm.
And history, people forget about history. So it's always good to go back. And that's what ESPN likes, that going back and respecting players that came before modern day players. So it's a disconnect between this generation and, players that played in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, I agree, because I think part of the problem is that you have old generation players that don't like where the game is at today, and then you have new players who are getting like really tired of how much the old school was better than the new school, that they start disrespecting, and then they start saying that even certain players, like if we were just talking about modern day '90s, for some reason they wouldn't be anything in today's game. They would kind of relatively be smaller. They wouldn't be anything that they were supposed to be today, because, according to today, the athletes are much better, they're much bigger, they're too much faster. So, um, and it's a shame, because if we look at Elgin Baylor, I mean, if you're listening to, I mean, I read this quote from Dr. J. Dr. J said that Elgin Baylor was actually, he was ballet when it came to basketball. And what I was watching a couple of highlights of him, and what was cool about him, he was actually one of the first players that actually palmed the ball, because he had big hands. That's something that Dr. J and Michael Jordan get recognized for, but Elgin Baylor was really the one that started that. And what people forget is, in Elgin Baylor's time, what's crazy is that black players were known to be known as players that would do the dirty work. He was actually one of the first black players, as he could be able to be the leading scorer on a team. Like, he could be the best player on a team, and that's what black players were never known as. So, I got to give major respect for what Elgin Baylor. He was one of the pioneers, and being able to be the best player. And he played an all-time great in Jerry West. So, that was a scary tandem. So. and it's crazy. Um, I also think with Elgin, it's a shame because I think it's also the fact that he didn't win as much. We talk about his NBA career because he went. I forgot what his record was, but I know he didn't win in the NBA Finals. I think it's 0-6 or 0-7, something like that. Um, and what's crazy about him was that he ended up getting injured 9 games into the 72 season. He ended up retiring, and what he missed out on was that he missed out on that historic win streak that the Lakers had, which is still an NBA record today, 33 straight. And then on top of that, they ended up winning the championship. And think about it, he was part of that original big three with Jerry West and Will Chamberlain. And so he missed out to be a part of Laker history. So I think that's one of the reasons also he doesn't get, enough credit. Let me ask you this. I want to put Elgin Baylor in a time machine. How do you think Elgin Baylor, with the way that he played, even though, we didn't see him play, obviously, but like, how do you think with the way that he scored in his time would fare in the 80s with the small forwards? Because if the 1980s was pretty much the golden age of small forwards. So, we could start there. Like, how do you think Elgin Baylor would fare in the 80s, when it comes to small forwards with how prolific he was as a scorer?
Man, that's a tough question. 80s was the prime of small forwards. That's really a tough one, Louis. I think Elgin Baylor, he would be top 10. I think he'd be just outside the top 5 in small forwards in the 80s because it was just so deep, and so many teams had great small forwards. I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough question. It really is.
No, it's all good, man. It's all good. I mean, it is difficult because the fact that that was a very deep. That was the 80s were rich with small forwards. When it comes to it, it's like if you were to do a Hall of Fame list of small forwards in the 80s, man, even players who didn't probably last as long, you would have think if they would have played that entire decade, they definitely could have been it. I mean, we're talking about guys like Bernard King. We're talking about guys like Larry Bird, obviously. We're talking about Dominique. Wait, did Dominique Wilkins play? Yeah, he was small forward. Yeah, he was a small forward.
Yeah,
He was
small forward.
Did Mark McGuire play small forward, or was he a two-guard?
McGuire also played small forward.
I think he played both positions. I think he was a small forward.
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Obviously, you got Dr. J. Yeah, Mark McGuire definitely should be in the Hall of Fame. So yeah, it's very difficult. It is difficult in terms of the 80s just because of the fact that it was in the era of small forwards. All right, so now I want to jump into the 80s going into the 90s. So I know the 90s was an era of big men, but see, he's going to be one of those rare players since he's a small forward because we know what everybody says about Jordan, that Jordan really didn't play competitive wing player, in the 90s. So, how do you think that Elgin Baylor, considering the competition in the 90s, how will he fare with some of the forwards that played in that time?
He'll definitely be top 5 small forwards. The small forwards in the 90s, you really didn't depend on them to score majority of the time. They were basically there to defend other guards and wing players. And Elgin Baylor, what he can do, he can also score. He was one of the top scorers in the 60s and 70s. I mean, 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely count on him in the 90s to give you at least 23 to 25 points per game. So with that being said, in the 90s, he'll definitely be top 5 in scoring.
Oh yeah, and what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, that's right. We saw the Iceman, George Gervin. Can't forget about him. But I know that his prime was mostly in the 70s and early 80s. Once by the time Jordan came, he obviously wasn't as big, but and he was kind of relegated to the bench. He could be the top. So let me just look at Elgin Baylor's career. This guy played 14 years in the NBA. He played them all with the Lakers. He was drafted by the Minneapolis Lakers and, eventually moved to Los Angeles the very next season in 1959. He's a career 27.4 points per game score, which I believe is in the top 10. If I'm not mistaken, that would put him. I believe he could be fourth or fifth all time when it comes to scoring. He averaged 13 and a half rebounds and 4.3 assists in 846 regular season career games. He is in the Hall of Fame, and he went in 1977. He was actually the number one pick. He's from the DC area, so he was born in 1934. He's currently 85 years old right now, and still looks good for his age. If you look at his, if we want to look at his look at his career accomplishments. He has 23,149 career points. He has 3,650 assists, and he has 11,463 rebounds. Let me see. He was an 11-time All-Star. He made 10 All-NBA teams, and check it out. All of his NBA teams were first team. He was the Rookie of the Year. He's on the NBA's 35th and 50th anniversary team. His jersey's retired by the Lakers, and he finally got a statue outside of Staples Center. He was the most outstanding player at the NCAA Final Four. He's the Helms Foundation Player of the Year. He's a consensus first and second team All-American. He led the nation in rebounding in 1957, and his jersey is retired in Seattle in number 22. He won Executive of the Year for the Clippers. Known for that dormant franchise, it's crazy how they've never really won, but he got an Executive of the Year about being with the Clippers, and he got inducted into the College Basketball Hall of Fame in 2006. And a couple of things that he did. This guy averaged 38 points a game, 19 rebounds a game in 1961 season, and that was also while he had to serve in the military because he only played 48 games that season. He was mostly a volume scorer because his career percentage, field goal percentage, is 33%. Solid free throw shooter, 78% for his career. And what was I going to say? Shout out to Kid Glory real quick. He says, hold on. He says that he's a Naruto fan, and he says, Louis, can you drop your PayPal? I'm trying to donate. I also like the video, no doubt. I actually put the PayPal earlier. That's crazy, but I do it right now, kid. So let me just do that real quick. And once again, I'm with my guest, Tyree. Appreciate him for coming through. Let me just get to the live stream. There it is. And like I said, shout out to everybody in the chat. Just put it in. Okay. It's crazy. So, Tyree, gotta ask you this. Even with his accomplishments, and I know he doesn't get enough recognition, which he deserves. Where would you, in terms of all-time great players, even though he doesn't get enough recognition, where would you? It's difficult to rank, but in your opinion, where do you think he would more so fit? I'm not saying where would you exactly put him in terms of your opinion, but where do you think he fits in terms of the top 50? I know everybody's got a different list, but where would you rank him? Because I know his thing was he never won, so he doesn't get enough, recognition for the great player that he was in his time.
Even though I do appreciate, the legends and trying my best not to disrespect, but I would like to say he's outside the top 50.
Interesting. What makes you say that?
If you look at some of the 50 greatest players, even the role players have rings and better career points than Elgin Baylor. I think he's ranked 30th in career points.
I believe so.
Or something around that area. Doesn't have any championships. How many All-Star MVPs do we have?
I don't think he won. He didn't win any in his career.
Right. So I'll have to put him outside the top 50 because I hear a lot of people say Scottie Pippen is top 50. So I don't even think at talent, yes, Elgin Baylor is talent-wise probably top 20. But as far as talent and accomplishments, which you got in basketball, you got to put accomplishments with it. He didn't accomplish anything, so you would have to take him outside of the top 50. But if you want to go individual talent, he'll be top 20.
Okay, I think in terms of small forwards, I would have to put Elgin Baylor in terms of ranking, in terms of greatest small forwards of all time. He's definitely in the top 10 in my personal opinion. When it comes to all time, it's difficult because he does have nice accomplishments. The only thing is, what hurts him is the fact that during that time period, they didn't really, there were some stats that were not recorded until a certain year. On top of that, his career was a little bit short due to injury. If it wasn't for the knee injury that he suffered, and he had played a little bit longer, he probably would have been a little more recognized. And again, you become more recognized when you win championships, and then you obviously gotta have some accolades to go with that too.
Correct.
So because of that, it hurts Elgin's case, to be the all-time great. But like I said before, man, the reason that I wanted to do this video was because I wanted to give him the proper respect, because when you talk about the Los Angeles Lakers, his name doesn't really come up. When you think of the Lakers, you think of Kareem, you think of Magic, you think of Kobe, you think of Shaq, you even think of Jerry West, even though Jerry West didn't win like those guys, obviously because it's the logo. But everybody knows, his impact in the front office has been because he helped get Shaq and he helped get Kobe, to continue the winning tradition. And he also did the same thing when he was with the Laker front office in the 80s as well, with Magic and Kareem. So that's why Jerry West is pretty much talked about, because again, all of those guys, it comes to like impact and winning. And with Elgin Baylor, he doesn't get enough. He doesn't get the proper respect that he deserves. And so the reason I wanted to do this video was because I wanted to honor him, because even though I didn't see him play, he's definitely one of the greatest players in NBA history. And the thing is, he did things that Dr. J and Michael Jordan give much more credit than he does, but he was really the original and he was the pioneer. So I got to give him that respect. Okay, so Ryan's got a question for us. So we're going to open it up a little bit. We'll mix some Elgin Baylor here and there, but we'll open it up with a little bit of NBA talk. So Ryan says, well, he says this to the chat, but we could even answer this too. So he says, hey, chat, what decides a player to be on your top tier list? So Tyree, go ahead. What does it take for a player to be on your top tier list?
For me, it has to be impact, also accomplishments, championships. That's pretty much it for me. Impact, championships, and accomplishments. Accomplishments is championships. So impact and championships, that will have to be how I rank my top tier.
All right, so before I continue, shout out to Freddie Gee. He says, Lou the Don, appreciate you. And he said, what's good? What's up for all love to the chat? Appreciate it. So basically for me, when it comes to ranking players, it has to be, were you the best player were you one of the best players in your era? Did you stand out as the best player in your era? Obviously, you have to have the statistics, so longevity does play a factor. Unless if you're a guy like Larry Bird or Michael Jordan, you're able to do more in less time. So, that can contribute. Obviously, you have to have the accolades, and obviously you have to be able to win the championships. And then also it depends on your competition. Did you beat the best players in your time to see, where do you rank? So that does matter. Shout out to Joel.
If I could butt in right quick, the only thing about the issue with me, the best player in your era, is so subjective, because you can have 2 or 3 players in that era that's both all at the same tier or all on that same level. So it's, unless you're Michael Jordan when you're winning with the Bulls. But other than that, like say you had Magic, you had Bird, and some people say Isaiah Thomas all were on the same level at one time. You had Kobe, Tim Duncan, Shaq, Dirk. Some people say it all were, the top of the class at that time. So to me, it's a little subjective. It's all, some bias plays into it as well. So if you're the top 2 or 3 in your era at that time, and you still have, championships and the numbers to back it up, you would be in my top tier.
It's a little bit more. I was gonna say it's just a little bit more difficult in terms of era, in terms of the '60s, because it's like there were a lot of great players, but the standout. I always probably say that Russell was pretty much winning in the '60s. He was a great rebounder and defender, but when it comes to dominance, probably the most dominant player of the '60s was you're talking about Will Chamberlain and the records that he broke. So you're talking about he's probably arguably the best in his era. Freddie says, I have a lot that factors in. I nitpick and compare every aspect of your game to other greats. Yeah, that's another factor that you got to play that into too. And then when you look at we were just talking about getting to the 70s. There's a couple of players that you could say was the best. And we have to also forget that some of the great players that actually played in the 80s, they came from the ABA. So we also have to factor that in too. So you're talking about
Dr. J.
So we're talking about. Look at Dr. J. If he had been in the NBA sooner, his numbers would probably look even better than what it did because he won championships in the ABA and he only won one in the NBA. So if Dr. J wins, let's say you convert those ABA titles to like 3 or 4 NBA championships, we'd be talking about Dr. J more different when it comes to great players and possibly even threatening the top 10 because Dr. J was one of the most impactful players in NBA history. So, they count and they do matter. Shout out to Johnson Daly. He says average 38 and 18 in one season. Yeah, that was the 61-62 season, for Elgin Baylor. And like I said before, he missed time that season because he was serving in the military. So for him to average those numbers in just a short time, he was a prolific scorer. He wasn't really proficient. Because he is a career 43% field goal shooter, but again, doesn't take away from it. And the crazy part is he was athletic and the fact that he had like I said, he had big hands so he could palm the ball. And the way that Dr. J describes him, he said he was like a ballet playing basketball. So he was kind of basically like poetry in motion. So he's kind of like the first original like athletic player, that played in the league. Until Will Chamberlain came because of how much of a freak athlete he is. But Elgin Baylor was the first real perimeter player. He just doesn't get the credit because, again, we look at recognizable figures as the way Dr. J came in, Michael Jordan came in. We look at that. So that's why they don't get it. Freddie Geese says, but generally, how well do you play basketball along with longevity and resume? That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point, though. That's an interesting point because, like I said, there's players who they've got. It takes the cumulative stats factor into longevity, and then there's players, like I said, who are able to accumulate what most guys would make in a career. They were able to do it in less time, and then if you add more cumulative stats to what they already accomplished, it's more difficult. So like when you look at Michael Jordan, people are looking at Jordan and saying, well, Jordan, he doesn't have the most points in NBA history, but he has the highest scoring average in NBA history. That basically tells you in the seasons that he played in, Michael Jordan was very dominant in the scoring seasons that he had. He doesn't have the most points, but he has the highest career average. That's why stats when you look at stats, context matters. So yeah, because if you look at Kareem's career scoring average, I believe for his career he averaged 24 a game, but he played 20 seasons. And in his prime, and the people forget that once Magic Johnson came in, Kareem kind of became more complimentary than being the number one guy on his team. So that's why people have to kind of factor those kind of things in. So I'm gonna open up a little bit. Like I said, once again, we're just gonna mix up the questions here and there. So Tyree, I gotta ask you, for the Last Dance documentary, what are you most looking forward to for parts 5 and 6 coming up this Sunday? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going live for that.
I would like to see the disconnect between Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson.
Are we talking about during the 98 season?
Yes, during the 98 season.
I see. Actually, I'm looking forward to a couple of things, man. And Number one, I know the gambling situation is going to come up in the documentary, and I know a lot of, especially people who can't stand Jordan, they're really looking forward to that, to look at that part. And also, I'm actually looking forward to seeing Kobe because they are going to go forward to the '98 season. They're going to focus on the All-Star game. They're probably going to focus on the Kobe Jordan matchup. And Kobe actually makes an appearance, and I believe it's on part 6 of the documentary. And I know for, obviously for us Kobe fans, who miss him dearly, God rest his soul, rest in peace. I know that people are going to be so in tune to see what Kobe has to say. And I know that it's going to be a lot of emotions when they see him in that documentary. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to that, just to see how it's going to be. And I can't wait to go live on Sunday. It's definitely going to be popping. And, guys, make sure to pull up, man. I can't wait to be a part of that. So, make sure you pull up and be a part of it, because we're going to have a lot of fun, and, we're going to get to talk. It's crazy because now I'm having a lot of issue with this whole. So, ladies and gentlemen, much earlier, I put a video out on Joe Dumars. So he was on The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and with Rob Parker. And they basically pretty much talked about his playing career, going up against Jordan, and pretty much the whole controversy with the Bad Boy Pistons. And what he said was, and make sure y'all go smash the like on that video if you haven't done it yet, and make sure to comment down below to get your thoughts on it. I was able to get some part of the interview. It's 16 minutes long because the original interview is about, I want to say it's probably maybe like about 30 minutes and all that. So it's more. But Joe Dumars said in that documentary, he said that he always respected Michael Jordan. And what I want to ask you, Tyree, is, what are your thoughts about, Joe Dumars as a player for the Detroit Pistons, arguably the most hated team in NBA history? And, why do you think that, he always showed respect to Jordan, even though Isaiah and Bill Laimbeer pretty much had their own agenda of how they were how they were going to conduct themselves against the Bulls, when they finally lost in the 91 Eastern Conference Finals? What do you thought?
Well, I would like to say shout out to Joe Dumars. He's one of the most underrated shooting guards of all time. He was like what Klay Thompson is to Golden State. He can play both ways. He can give you offense and defense. So shout out to Joe Dumars. But I just think Joe Dumars, since he was matched up with Scottie Pippen, with Michael Jordan, guarding him, he knew what it took to go and, try to defend Michael Jordan, one of the best athletes in the world. And he respected that. And I think Isaiah Thomas is a little too sensitive, man. That's what messed up his relationship with Magic Johnson. That's why they didn't get along for a while. And I think he's seen Jordan coming on top, and Isaiah Thomas wanted to stay on top. So when somebody comes for your throne and takes it, you have some animosity towards it. But since Joe Dumars was in a battle with Michael Jordan, you having to guard him majority of the time. He respected that, this dude backs up everything he says. So that's why he respects Michael Jordan so much, to me.
Hold on, I hear that last part because the screen froze. Say it again.
No, I was just saying that I think Joe Dumars respect Michael Jordan for being a great player. And like I said, I think Isaiah Thomas is still salty that he wasn't able to maintain on a throne, and he's seen Michael Jordan coming up. Also, he's seen Michael Jordan coming up in the NBA where commercials started to become prevalent, and he started seeing Michael Jordan's career take off. And I think Isaiah Thomas was a little jealous of that. If you paid attention to Joe Dumars, he really didn't say too much when he played in the league. He was more of a grinded out type of player. He's going to give you his best on offense and on defense. And those battles with Michael Jordan made him appreciate those battles with Michael Jordan. So that's why he got so much respect for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Joe Dumars was somebody. Joe Dumars, he kind of low key sneak dissed Isaiah Thomas, to be honest with you, and it wasn't with intention. The reason I say it is because it's what you just talked about, Tyree. Joe Dumars, he respected Michael Jordan because of the battles they had, and he said after when the Bulls lost, this is why I'm kind of upset at Isaiah Thomas, because my thing is that you're trying to play both sides, because in 1 minute you'll call Jordan the greatest, and there's YouTube videos claiming that Isaiah has no hesitation calling Jordan the greatest. But then now that you're looking at not only the Bad Boy documentary when Jordan, the funny thing is Jordan and Phil Jackson both said that the Pistons were bad for the league and that they were bad champions. And, but they only focus on Jordan the player because of what he was becoming. So in one part, I understand it. And Joe Dumars said that he respected what Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer decided to do, but he was going to go shake Jordan's hand because he said it never came across his mind to not do that. Because when the Pistons would beat the Bulls, what did Michael Jordan do? He said Michael Jordan was very upset. He was devastated that he lost, but he always showed respect. And he came up to Joe Dumars and he said, you know what, great battle, great game. It was a great series. And then he said, and he wished him the best of luck in the NBA Finals. And the crazy part is in 1990, my thing is Jordan lost in Game 7. Jordan and the Bulls lost in Game 7. Isaiah Thomas came to Michael Jordan and he gave him dabs. And Jordan showed him his respect. And Jordan even said after the game, he said, give him respect. It's not our time yet. We're trying to get to where they are. He says all these things. Jordan is pissed off. He's frustrated. Like he told you that. But at the same time, Jordan showed respect and defeat. And my problem with Isaiah Thomas is he's using the Boston Celtics walking off the court as an excuse. And I'm like, Isaiah, you can't use that. You could have used it if Jordan didn't show you respect, but he did every time he lost to you. Then the shoe's on the other foot and you can't deal with losing. And then you want to blame it on Bill Laimbeer. But let's be honest, I really think Isaiah was the orchestrator in that when he heard that. Because remember, he said that he was really hurt when Jordan made those comments. And if you look at the way they were physical with him, there's a lot of pictures on YouTube and you can look at it on Google. If you see some of the pictures, Bill Laimbeer's got him in a headlock, in a sleeper hole. You got Rodman with his hand punched in the gut, Isaiah all on the top. The way they looked like they were wrestling in WWE or AEW. Like it wasn't even basketball. It was a damn wrestling match every time they played the Bulls. So, and then you hear Horace Grant, calling them, sorry, sneaky, bees. And then obviously Isaiah still hates Pippen to this day. And Pippen doesn't agree with anything Isaiah says. So they're making it seem like if the beef, people are saying that Isaiah and Jordan are cool, but it's not true. Why did Jordan say that in the DVD? There's nothing that can change my mind because he's still an a-hole and he knows. So my thing with Isaiah is if you're going to be the villain, just own up to it. I don't got a problem with that. It's because at least with Bill Laimbeer, he keeps the same energy. Isaiah continues to flip-flop back and forth, and it's like he keeps trying to fit to whatever narrative it is, and it's not making him look good. So for John Sally to say that the beef, I don't know if you heard Tyree, but did you hear that John Sally said that the original beef with Isaiah was because his nephew was wearing a Michael Jordan jersey?
No, I did not hear that.
And Isaiah wasn't too happy about that?
I did not hear that, but I can believe it.
And like I said, look, I'm here to give Zeke. So that's what this is. So look, to be honest with you, look, I'm gonna give the Detroit Pistons their respect. And I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. Isaiah, in my opinion, is the most impactful little man in NBA history. And this guy defeated Larry Bird, who's in my top 5, Magic Johnson, who's in my top 5, and Michael Jordan, who is number 1 on my list of all time. So you defeated 3 players who, again, it's a subjective list. People can have their opinions or whatever, but again, Isaiah was one of the greatest ever. And it's unfortunate that his reputation's taken such a hit that, he doesn't get recognized for the great player that he was. But part of it is his own doing. And it's not just the reputation that he got around the league. Part of it was his doing too. Because, that's what I gotta say. And I wanted to ask you, do you think from what I just said with John Stanley and from what I said about Joe Dumars and then, with Jordan, do you think that kind of makes Isaiah, look, pretty bad in the documentary, or do you think that things are just kind of pretty much mellowed the same, or do you think Isaiah is being disrespected? Because then you get on Jalen Rose next.
I think people are a little too hard on Isaiah Thomas. People forget. Wasn't Isaiah Thomas from Chicago?
Isaiah is from Chicago. He's from the West Side.
So Michael Jordan is the hero of Chicago. Isaiah Thomas has some animosity with that. He's a Chicago kid. He wanted to be a Chicago Bull and, you know, win championships for his hometown. And when you got a guy like Michael Jordan winning it in your hometown, and now he's your hometown hero, of course you're gonna feel some type of way about it. And then you play with the Detroit Pistons. Yes. People giving Isaiah Thomas a hard time. He just a little salty that Michael Jordan was in his hometown winning all those championships and getting more glory than the person that came from Chicago.
Here's what I'm gonna say about Isaiah when it comes to comparing the situation with the Boston Celtics walking off the floor in 1988. What I'm gonna say is, I think it's unfair that people only look at Detroit and what they did, but it's because of Jordan. That's why they focused on that because of what Jordan was supposed to become. But at the same time, the league was pretty much catering to Larry Bird, and the media was like that, despite the fact that Larry Bird really didn't care about doing interviews or really caring about what the media says. He only cared about playing basketball. That's what he cared about. So when I look at Larry Bird and the Celtics, I think Isaiah had to stop Kevin McHale. And Kevin McHale was basically saying, you know, don't just go to the finals to be there, you know, just make sure you go to win it, right? So and the thing is that Isaiah is jealous of the fact that he can't be Mr. Chicago that Michael Jordan did.
Correct.
All of his family are Bulls fans. So I think to me that also kind of hurts a little bit in the fact that he's very salty in the fact that Jordan is Chicago and Isaiah is not. And it's like, Jordan's from North Carolina. I'm from Chicago.
Sorry to cut in.
No.
To me, brother, I think people giving Zeke a hard time. If the man didn't feel like shaking Jordan's hand and walk off, that's fine with me. I think a lot of people, if it's Michael Jordan, they expect, it's like LeBron James. If you don't give him credit, they think you hating on him. Or if you walk off away from him, they think you hating on him. Like, you know, like Joe Dumars said, Isaiah Thomas and them, they grown men. If they feel like walking out, just let them walk away. And I have no issue with that. You feel like you want to walk away because you can't stand that somebody's winning in your hometown and you want to walk away, just walk away, brother. I'd rather that than them go in the middle of a court and get into an altercation with having words going back and forth.
I understand your point, and I'm gonna say it like this. And first of all, shout out to Get Glory for the PayPal donation. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Yes, I did get it. So just to let you know, thank you. So I appreciate that. My Cash App is also there if you guys have it, and if you would like to, you don't have to. It's your choice. It's up to you. It's optional. You don't have to, but my Cash App is shown on the screen. With Isaiah Thomas, my issue is not him not shaking hands with Jordan because I honestly really don't care. My issue is that again, Bill Laimbeer kept that same energy, and Isaiah, I think that because of that situation, he was not on the dream team. But I'm saying that there's a lot of factors into it because Isaiah, he keeps changing his story so much. So I really don't know where he's coming from because my point is that Jordan showed you respect. You're not going to show respect to Jordan. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that, just own up to it. Just say that I wasn't going to shake his hand because but then it's like you're using the Boston Celtics situation, which to me doesn't count in that situation because Jordan showed you respect at the end of the day. Like, I don't have a problem. I'm just saying own up to it. Like, I'm not going to shake Jordan's hand. Bill Laimbeer has kept that same energy from the time that they played the Bulls to every single player that's played that he's gone up against, and he's staying that way. And he says, look, at the end of the day, he says, we beat the Celtics, we beat the Lakers, we beat the Bulls, and we're two-time champions. And I said, as much as I don't like the way Bill Laimbeer played basketball, I can respect that. And I'm saying if you're Zeke, you stick to your guns, man. But the fact that you're changing, going back and forth with your stories is making you look bad, especially if you hear what his ex-teammates are saying. Because look at it this way. John Sally, he couldn't say that Jordan was the greatest because he was a Piston. So he couldn't say it. But then he ends up playing on the 96 team that won 72 games.
Right.
James Edwards, former Piston, he goes play for the Bulls, and he was on that 72-win team. And then also you have Dennis Rodman, the Worm. He played with Detroit, won 2 rings. If you look at his Hall of Fame, he wore a jacket, and on the black jacket it had glitters Piston, and then he says the Bulls. So, and then he ends up playing with the Bulls, for 3 championships. Hold on, for Freddie Gee says. So MJ was mad about the handshake, so he wouldn't let Zeke on the dream team, or was the All-Star freeze out the breaking point? The thing is, there's a lot of controversy because we really, from what John Sally says, Isaiah's issue with Jordan was the fact that his nephew wore a Jordan jersey. So it's like he was already mad enough that he's not a Chicago Bull, but he's even more mad because he's thinking that his nephew would cheer for the Pistons since Isaiah played there, but he has a Jordan jersey because I'm guessing Jordan was his favorite player. Funny thing is, Isaiah said, he got to coach Michael in the 2003 All-Star game. He also said that Michael was very nice with his son. So I'm like, if you're saying all this, Isaiah, then the thing is, when the thing Freddie is, what MJ's mad about is even if he dealt with the physicality, even if they wrestled him to the ground and all that, and yeah, look, I've told you on my record of saying, MJ is not perfect. MJ, he's a crybaby. A lot of superstars are. Pretty much every superstar that's ever played that have been known to be divas or crybabies, and Jordan was definitely one of them. All right, kid. No doubt. Peace out, man. Appreciate you, and take care. All right, stay blessed, brother. And like I said, man, it's like I said, Isaiah, like just keep that same energy, bro. It's funny because even Magic Johnson, Pat Riley even said like, because Magic was kind of acting a little friendly during the finals with Isaiah, and he said, "Yo, are you going to be physical and go at him and compete, or are you trying to win?" So, and even his teammates were questioning that because of the way Magic played in those '88 finals. So Magic had to be physical.
Right.
That took it did kind of strain the relationship a little bit. But the thing is, it wasn't with Jordan. Isaiah kind of developed a bad reputation around the league. People being kind of hard, yeah. But at the same time, I also have to say that Isaiah kind of brought it on himself with some of the comments that he made. So it goes pretty much both ways.
I agree with you. And also, if you put yourself in Isaiah Thomas' shoes, when you go back home to Chicago, you walk in the restaurants, all you see is Michael Jordan and the Bulls. You go back home, your family, all they're talking about is Michael Jordan and the Bulls. So I can see how you get a little frustrated with everybody, even your family members talking about Michael Jordan. And you also play in the same NBA he does. So that is a little, hard. I can understand why Zeke could be a little salty about things.
Yeah, no question that I can understand that because again, it's like he became what Isaiah probably wanted to be. So looking at Jordan being in all those commercials, getting all the recognition, it's funny because Isaiah at one, but to me it was like I feel like with Isaiah, I feel like this whole sore loser thing just comes from the fact that again, Michael's from Chicago, and then it's like you look at the success that he had. He ended up winning 6 championships, and then Isaiah ended up winning 2. And so I think probably Isaiah would have been content even with 2 championships if he won them in Chicago, even if he would have won 2, because I think it would have been like, I got to do it in my hometown, so people knows me as the hometown hero.
Facts.
But they look at Jordan as the hometown hero, even though he's not from Chicago. And they look at Isaiah, differently. And I think Isaiah hates the fact that he gets booed when he comes there because let's face it, you're playing the same division as them. And Joe Dumars said it before. They used to play 6 times. They play 6 times a year. So, I think that plays into a lot of that plays a lot. All right, man. I'm gonna switch a little bit going into today's game. So we're talking about now. So the NBA. They started to open some facilities for certain teams, and teams have gotten some certain dates and deadlines on when they're able to practice in their facilities in their area. So my question to you is that why do you think that Adam Silver and the NBA decided to allow certain teams for certain dates to be able to get their practice time, while other teams have to wait? Because if you look at the Lakers and the Clippers, there's no announced date yet. And I just found out about that. So, why do you think, that's the case? That he's not there for other teams, but not some other teams are not able to practice yet.
Then they aren't they going off of the lack of the reduced stay at home order?
Yeah, I believe so.
That may 10% of it may be true that they are working with that. So that's what I'm going off of. Maybe he's doing that for those states that are being lenient with the stay-at-home order. Now, it would change it would change my opinion if the Lakers and Clippers were able to practice or open their facilities first. Then I'll be having my eyebrows raised with that one. But since it's other teams they are allowing to do so, I don't have a problem.
I think, for me, I think the NBA is going to have to figure out because I think that if you was going to open up facilities for certain in certain states, especially for certain teams, then it's like you would have had to find a way to do it pretty much for everybody. Because now, if you look at it, look, teams that are in the playoffs, when you're looking at teams like obviously the two probably most talked about teams more than anything, the Lakers and the Clippers. They have to wait until they get their time. And look, if I believe that I forgot what teams are allowed to open, but they're not allowed to open until the 30th. And the Lakers and Clippers have a to be announced date, which means that they possibly won't get to practice until June. So they'll be a little bit slow on that. So I think it's bad that they didn't even get to do that, and I think it's a mistake that they're doing, because I feel like if you're going to do that, they should open at the same time. I think for them to be doing that is you're giving certain teams a disadvantage. That's like basically saying, well, Luka Doncic gets to practice, but Kemba Walker doesn't. So I think that's kind of a little bit unfair in terms of that. Ryan says, I don't think it's good for them to do that. Just cancel the season and start back up on Christmas, just like the 2012 season year. And he's talking about during the lockout. The thing is that the NBA is greedy. They're looking at it from a money standpoint. Player salaries getting cut. That's one factor. Then on top of that, it's the amount of revenue they can lose. But I heard that they were getting their money another way. I forgot what it was, but to make up for the loss of obviously with the TV deals, obviously with the coverage with ESPN and NBA TV, they're looking at that. They're looking at those budget cuts. So the reason that they want to continue this season is because of the money that's being lost. And obviously, a lot of people think that obviously it's with other narratives as to why they want the season to open. Because I mean, let's face it, what's been the topic all this time, even during this pandemic, with returning. And people have been talking. It's been the fact that LeBron. People have been talking about the fact that they don't like the fact that LeBron has been talking about that that he wants the season to be canceled just because he doesn't want to play in front of the fans. And in one part, I understand that. And then one thing is that then he comes back and says that he doesn't feel that he's going to get closure. If he doesn't get a chance to play, this year. So.
Also, if you're LeBron, I think as a LeBron team, I think you like this. If you're in LeBron, his little circle, now you can use this as an excuse. You can say, you know what, the Lakers were favorites to win it this year, or LeBron wasn't able to win it because of the epidemic. So they have an excuse why LeBron don't have his fourth ring. So it could be good for LeBron.
That's true. It is true, because that this is going to be used as a narrative, because not only that, but then I can't even say fans, because I'm going to more so say fanboys and fangirls, because like I said, there's objective LeBron fans out there who really truly understand the game, but the other ones, they're just going to be like, well, because of this pandemic, the Lakers, they were going to win anyway. It's just, they stopped them. But then it's like if they lose, if they do, I'm not saying that I'm not making any hypotheticals, I'm not making any predictions, but I'm saying if they did, then it would have been like it was due to this thing. They didn't have a chance to get it stopped their chemistry. They had the momentum. They just beat the Bucks and the Clippers. They're the best team in the league, and da 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 da. So it's like no matter which way you want to spin it, they're gonna find a way to spin the narrative to try to put in this favor. And it's just like, and it's crazy because I was looking in the comments in some of the YouTube videos that they're like, it'd be crazy if the season doesn't continue and they have to start next year. They were even saying like, does he retire? And the reason they're saying that is because we don't know what AD is gonna do, if he does resign or does he go to another team. And we also have to remember that there's certain teams that are going to be much better next year. We're looking at the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie once they come back from injury. We're looking at the Golden State Warriors, and I don't know if I agree with that. I really don't. I really don't. I'm sorry. You can go with that narrative, but I'm sorry. I've known his career long enough. It's crazy being without fans, bro. No, it's true, because it's not gonna feel the same. Like it's gonna feel like a scrimmage. It's not even gonna feel like the real thing.
We're talking about practice.
And talking about practice, because AI. We talking about practice, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. But listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Lakers don't have a chance to win. They do. They have the team. They have the team to win. They have the team to win. The Bucks. The East is a little interesting because I wonder what team other than the Bucks have the opportunity to win to come out the East. And like I said, I'm looking at the Miami Heat. If they fix their offensive issues, I feel like that's the one team. Other than that, I don't trust Philly because of their lack of leadership and just their immaturity with the two star players and their head coach, which is why I don't trust them. I feel like if the Heat can fix their offensive issues, I feel like that's the one team that can not only challenge the Bucks, but they may even come out of the East, even though that they're young, because they have the depth. But they just got to fix their offense.
I think people still sleeping on the Raptors, man. I really truly believe that the Raptors have the best chance of coming out the East.
Yeah, no, and remember, the Raptors are the defending champions. If this thing gets shut down again, listen, they can honestly say we're the two-time defending champions with our one championship, so we didn't rightfully get to defend our title. And the Raptors, they still have the coaching, they still have the same principles, so that hasn't left. They've been great this year. To me, I said they were going to make the playoffs, but I thought that they were going to be one of the lower seeds. They really surprised me, though. They really, really did surprise me in how well they played. I didn't think that they were going to be like play this well. So I got to give him credit, and I got to give credit to Pascal Siakam. I mean, he's really stepped up, and he's improved his game. I just think in terms of the Raptors, what's going to hurt them is can Siakam be that go-to closer down the stretch? And remember, Kawhi Leonard his demeanor really helped the Raptors relax in tense situations. I'm wondering, is Siakam going to be able to do that, with the rest of their team? Because they have pretty much the same team in their team. Like I said with Siakam, I wonder how he's going to perform in the playoffs. This is a whole different animal. Ryan said, it's going to be worse for LeBron if they resume the season because his body won't be geared up in time, and the momentum they had before this resuming, now is a disaster. I mean, that to me is kind of the point too. And LeBron said it himself that it's kind of bad that he's now resting and not really been able to play. Freddie says, I think that the Heat are a dark horse team. I agree. I keep saying it. With the move they made with the trade that they made with the Grizzlies, like I said, they are a dark horse team. And I'm telling you, they fix their offense. I really feel that they can knock off the Bucks. The Raptors are overachieving, but Jimmy would be the best player, and Bam would be the second best player in that series if the Heat and the Raptors get at it. G Money says the NBA thinks Brown is the GOAT again. He's such a flip-flopper. Well, G Money, you're letting the NBA get to your head, bro. I've seen a couple of just today. Just today, I've seen a couple of his videos. This guy flips for clickbait. I've seen it. Like 1 minute he'll say Jordan is great, and then another minute he'll say Brown is GOAT. He does it for clickbait. So I don't even give him attention, bro. It's like G Money, you can't let that dude get to your head, bro. Like every single time, like just leave him be. It's like Freddie says, it's hard to win without having the two best players in the series. Team ball has to be key for the Raptors. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because the fact that they don't really have two best players, that's why I said that they're really gonna have to do team ball. So it's really gonna hurt, for them. Shout out to Low Key T in the building. Obviously, LeBron is his most hated guy for 500. The Clippers even got tired of beating him. If anyone was on a mission, it was Giannis. He was the only star on his team that had the best record. I don't want to hear nothing about who, right? Listen, my issue with the Bucks is going to be Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe. Giannis, obviously his issues are with the jump shot, but and then obviously when they build that wall and play more zone, again, my issue is going to be Bledsoe because he's not a half-court player, and Chris Middleton is not a dominant player. So, yeah, but G Money, you shouldn't worry about that. If he wants to change his opinion, that's fine. You shouldn't let that bother you, bro. Honestly. I agree with Freddie on this one. It's true. If people want to think that he's the greatest, that's fine. Like, just leave it, man. It's fine if Braun is the greatest. People have that right. They do. At the end of the day, they do. What did Bert say this morning by the numbers? Oh, he's talking about nigga right. Oh, man. All right, man. Try not to mention that whole COV thing because my video's been shut down before due to that. So, like, not even to mention that. But again, shout out to Low Key though, and like I said, shout out to Freddie. So, I mean, yeah, obviously we did talk about Elgin Baylor. Yo, is there any questions you have, man, that you want to bring up to me or to the chat to bring up to an open conversation? Let me know.
Hey, I'm enjoying my time, brother. I'm just following your lead.
All right, cool. No, that's all. That's all right. That's cool. All right. Let me just look here. G Money says, I think the Lakers will beat the Bucks in 6 if they can be in finals, but Giannis, Middleton, and Bledsoe be consistent. Like I said, I don't think. Listen, the Eastern Conference. When I looked at the Eastern Conference, basically what that told me was that the championship is coming to the West. It's coming to the West. Whether it be the Lakers, whether it be the Clippers, it's coming into the Western Conference, and it's going to go to either one of those two teams personally if they were to come back. So, me personally, like I said, I'm picking the Clippers, but like I said, I wouldn't be mad if the Lakers were. To be honest with you, I really don't care. I'm just looking at it from the way I'm looking at it. I think that the Clippers will beat the Lakers, me personally. If the Lakers win, I'm cool with that. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, hear me and hear me well. I'm telling you right now, with the way that the East is set up, the championship is going to the West this year. I'm telling you right now, whether it be the Clippers or whether it be the Lakers. This is the opportunity for the Bucks to get to the finals because if they don't do it, we're going to start hearing some rumblings in the ear. And then remember what the rumblings are because this is where I call out Stephen A. Snitch. Because this dude was criticizing Kevin Durant for joining the Golden State Warriors, but he wants now Giannis Antetokounmpo to join Golden State. So it's okay. It's not okay for KD. And listen, I was not a fan of the move when it first happened. But what I'm basically saying is you got to keep that same energy. If it ain't okay for KD, it ain't okay for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So why are you trying to push Giannis to go to Golden State? Or are you trying to see LeBron get his revenge on the Warriors just with more players on the team to say that he beat, another super team or something? So because remember Andrew Wiggins is there and he plays small forward. And I wanted to ask you, Ari, what do you think about Andrew Wiggins being with the Golden State Warriors, and how do you think he's going to fit with that team?
Perfect fit for the Golden State Warriors when Klay Thompson and Steph Curry comes back. Klay and Steph going to get their touches, and you can use Andrew Wiggins now for more athleticism and energy. And sometimes Andrew Wiggins, he do come through with big shots. He's not always consistent, but he can hit big shots. And his athleticism is what Golden State needs as well, because they don't have too much depth. So Andrew Wiggins also give them depth.
That's great points. I think with Golden State, I like the fact that they do have Andrew Wiggins. I think the fact that he's in the system, I think he's going to thrive. He's going to get the right coaching. It's really going to open his mind up and make him a more cerebral player. I think it's going to make him more efficient. And like I said, he has championship experience around him. You got Klay, you got Steph. Obviously, you got Draymond. Should I say donkey for correct? Draymond Green. You also have, Steve Kerr is obviously going to be able to teach him. So that's very important for Andrew Wiggins. So it's going to give him the opportunity to grow. And like I said, with those players coming back, they're going to be a problem in the Western Conference. I'm not saying championship because it depends on what the Warriors do because they have to develop their bench. If I were the Warriors, though, I would honestly trade Draymond Green just for this fact.
You would read my mind, brother.
The reason being is because Eric Pascal is on the team. And he gets more buckets than Draymond Green, and he could definitely develop defensively with Golden State with their schemes. So I think Draymond Green, they need to trade him. Unfortunately, though, the fact that they give him all that money, the question is going to be what team is going to want to take that contract because it's making $25 million. It is 4 years, but I'm sorry. So
the Raptors.
You think the Raptors would take that deal?
I this is my thing. I think that the Golden State may put off a trade where they send Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins and try to trade somebody and end up with Pascal Siakam and maybe a second round pick.
Dan, you think they would trade Draymond Green and
Andrew Wiggins
for Pascal Siakam in the second round pick?
Yes, I do.
Chad, what do you think about that? Y'all think that if the Warriors were to trade Draymond Green, that the Raptors would be a suitable team for them to be able to trade to get Pascal Siakam? I mean, I did hear that. I believe that the Warriors were trying to go after him. Let me just keep looking in the comments. Ryan says Freddie says the Clippers had more bad losses than the Lakers. I can't stay more focused. Yeah, I actually agree with Freddie. The Lakers have had some bad losses, but not at the level to the Clippers. Dude, 5 of their losses, they allowed teams to score 140 points. That's unacceptable, bro. AD, I mean, I don't want no smoke at center. I mean, the Grizzlies scored 140 in their building. Deeper, hell yes. But if the Lakers win, that proves LeBron's greatness, right? We'll see about that. Because remember with LeBron, Laker fans ain't taking that BS, man. He don't get it done this year. I don't see LeBron winning the championship with the Lakers. And it's going to look bad.
I think?
Go ahead.
I think if the Lakers do make it to the championship, and if LeBron sees that he's not going to be the finals MVP, he's going to find some way to sabotage that team. If he sees that AD is going to be the MVP, LeBron's not going to show up. But if LeBron sees that he's able to become the MVP of the finals, he's going to come through. But if he sees that AD is taking over, he's going to find some way to sabotage it. I think that's my thing with 2011 against Dallas. He seen that D-Wade was the best player on that team, and D-Wade was on his way to get a finals MVP, and LeBron found some way not to show up. That's the only thing that I can see that's why LeBron didn't show up. You played great all year, and now in 2011 finals, you found a way not to show up. I think he was jealous because he knew D-Wade was getting that MVP that year.
You know what? I've been saying that for the longest time. You read my mind, Tari, because I said that with LeBron. The reason being is that he did go to South Beach, and remember that. Here's the thing with LeBron: as great as he is, he loves being told that he's the best, and he also loves. He doesn't love the fact when it's like, no, dude, you're not. You know, for once, you didn't do great. And he does have these salty rich moments though. And I said it before, if the Heat won the championship and Wade would have won the Finals MVP, the narrative was going to be that you needed to go to a team that had a former Finals MVP, because all I hear LeBron fans say is that, when LeBron got there, the Miami Heat they weren't even a playoff team, which is not true. Eric Spoelstra already had 2 seasons with the Heat, and he coached them to 2 playoff appearances. See, when LeBron got there, he helped them make them a championship. But it wasn't that they weren't a playoff team. They went to the playoffs 2 years in a row. What LeBron helped them make them was a championship. And then you add Chris Bosh, who was a franchise player with the Toronto Raptors. But if LeBron didn't win, what was going to happen was people were going to say, you needed Dwayne Wade to win a championship, and also it's like you came to Pat Riley. See, and trust me, LeBron can't concede to that because he wants to make sure that he's the one getting the credit, and that's well documented. And it's like, I'm glad you mentioned that up, because it's like that's in the back of my mind. It's like if LeBron really cares about winning the ring, then then AD is the one that's going to have to dominate, which is why AD is so key. Because if AD doesn't dominate, then LeBron's going to make sure that he's going to try to go for that MVP. And that's why I said that the issue that I'm having is the LeBron system. I just don't know. If the LeBron system is going to work. If it's the only way that I see the LeBron system working is if he has a favorable matchup. The team has to be favorable. The matchup has to be favorable for him. That's why I see the LeBron system working. But if it's against a team that executes offensively as a team, and the system, there's an equal opportunity offense where everybody eats, that's where I'm going to see a problem. And even if the Lakers have a very good defensive team and they have good leagues, if they get shredded apart by this offensive system, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem, and then once again it's going to be when LeBron goes up against intelligent teams, that's when he messes up. Again, this ain't hate. This is through the finals history, man. Like
Facts.
it's shown. Um, what you would call it? Let me just go. Wait, let me just go. G Money says he thinks personally Draymond Green will make the Raptors worse. I actually agree. I actually agree with that. The biggest issue I have with Draymond is his mouth. Like I said, he acts like he's some all-star level player. New nickname alert: Draymond Green's new name is Mr. Potato Head. Oh man. Let me just continue here. Ryan says, no, Raptors will trade Draymond because of his mouth. Well, that's the reason they're gonna trade him. Unfortunately, I might have to agree with that somewhat. His window is closing because we don't know how the Nets will look. Kawhi is here and Zion is coming. I know the reason I'm saying that is because, and I'm glad that you brought that up, Freddie, because the reason I'm saying that is because he's 35 years old. If LeBron was 30, he has more opportunities, but he's 35 years old. He's 36, and you got to ask how much longer. And like I said, all these guys are going to get better. And like I said, Kawhi Leonard, even though he's dealing with a knee injury, and Paul George is they're both 28. So at least for them, though, they have more opportunities. The key for them is to be health, but they're going to have more opportunities. As long as they stay healthy, the Clippers are built for at least the next 3 or 4 years, at the very least, 3 or 4 years. So, and I don't think, and LeBron doesn't really have that kind of time. Anthony Davis, at the very least, is like 27 years old. So, he has years left. LeBron doesn't. That's the thing. Let's see. Let me just look real quick. It's because of in my case, it's just because of what I talk about. Yeah, I don't know. I say, to be honest, I didn't even feel like it was that serious, and I didn't even go in depth about the whole, pandemic. But it's just, I don't know. I guess they really with that on my channel, so that's I'm just saying, like, it's got to keep it a hundo. So, but like I said, man, respect to Ryan and respect to Freddie. So I understand what what you guys are trying to do, and like I said, I appreciate it though. So it's not an issue with that. But this is why I say I hate the fact that we have two players dominating the headlines, but at the same time, this is why I said that we got to respect our history. We have to respect our history. This is why I'm giving much love to this brother Elgin Baylor, because he's one of the most forgotten people, and he's definitely a forgotten Laker too, because he's not even really mentioned in Laker history like that, even though there's been past videos about him. But when it comes to Laker history, he is definitely one of the best Lakers, and he's definitely one of the best players in NBA history. If it wasn't for his injuries, and if he would have obviously won championships, Elgin Baylor definitely would have been much more remembered, and people would have been talked about him. And I definitely think that the older generation would have been talking a lot more about Elgin Baylor, bringing it to the new generation. And like I said, we have to appreciate our history. And like I said, look, I like what the game is today. Obviously, there's some things obviously I don't like, obviously, because I think the game, that there's some things in terms of the rule changes that definitely can make this NBA game, a lot better. And I got to ask you, Tyree, what in your opinion do you think would make this game a lot better in terms of the rules? Or what would be some things that you would change personally if we were to make the game better?
To me personally, I think less 3-point shooting and a little bit more physicality will help. To me, will help the game a lot better.
There's quite a few things that need to change when it comes to today's game. For one, I would love to see actually more I would love to see more execution. There's really a lack of fundamentals. I really miss the post play. I really would love to see more mid-range shooting. Let's see. So you have that, because that all factors into less 3-point shots. There's really the big men are not really here anymore. So,
because everybody. I'm sorry.
What happened? Say it again.
No, the reason why a lot of people now having face-up game now is all more of the crossover and the shot now. So that's why I think I'm not even sure the post move or the mid-range even coming back anymore, bro. I think it's gonna be all face-up game now from here on now. Now, unless they make it, they have to make it a little bit more physical where you dump it off to the post. If they don't make the game a little bit more physical, you're gonna always see the face-up game.
That is a point. That is true. That is you got a point. What you call it? Let me just look back into the comments once again. And G Money says, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavs beat the Clippers in the first round. Listen, G Money, I'm telling you right now, that's not happening. No way. No way.
Facts.
Absolutely not. The Mavs are not beating the Clippers. I'm sorry. No way. The thing is, the way the Clippers defend Luka is why. And I agree with Freddie. Kristaps is going to have to go. He's going to have to go nuts because when you look at the Mavs, they really play the Luka system, and Kristaps doesn't really get involved like that. Kristaps' numbers are better when Luka actually doesn't play. The only thing is they don't obviously win as much. But again, your value. This is what I say, that people who have their own systems, you have a higher value because of the fact that when your system goes, your team has to adjust to a new style of play because they're so used to playing your style. So that's why you're going to hold higher value, and the team is going to look a lot lesser of what they are. It's because you're the system. It's not like you're playing an equal opportunity offense. You're not playing in the team system. So that's why your value is going to be viewed much higher. It's because you have the ball in your hands, and Luka Doncic has the ball in his hands a lot. So G Money said, honestly, I would cause the Mavs are not ready, and Kawhi's the man. The Mavs are not ready. No, they're to me a couple of years away. They're not ready yet. Chat. So Ryan has a question. He says, chat, does the league need to be back to be physical like the old days? Maybe not like the old days, but I definitely would think a little more, because the thing is, look, man, you look at 80s and 90s basketball. I told you, look at the way Jordan was defended. If that was allowed to lay today, trust me, we would be looking at a lot of teams with 6-man, 7-man rotations, man, in the NBA. They're just not going to allow that kind of physicality. And again, it's the malice and the image that created. Because of that image, what happened on that night between the Pacers and the Pistons is the reason why I don't think that the league is even going to allow even the littlest bit of physicality, especially when they take away hand checking. I thought that's going to happen. G Money says, I see your point, but like I said, other than Kawhi and Harold, the rest of the Clippers have too many chokers and underperformers. And once again, I'm sorry. I could see that against the Lakers, but not the Mavericks. I'm sorry. I don't see it. Just don't see it. Freddie says, Kawhi is head and shoulders better than everyone, and Luka and PG is actually a lot closer than people think. I agree with that. Kristaps would have to go complete beast mode for them to even have a chance, and that's my point. That's the thing, because the thing is the Mavs are not really that good of a defensive team, and the Clippers are a better defensive team. And trust me, the Clippers against the Mavericks are better focused in the playoffs. The Clippers are more complete than the Mavericks are. That's why I don't see the Clippers joking. I don't think they lose their focus against the Mavericks. If you look at it, obviously they're quote unquote geared for the Lakers, but I don't think they'll lose their focus to lose to the Mavericks. It would obviously be shocking if we lost to them, because then the Clippers would get exposed. Doc Rivers, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, they'll get exposed. And like I said, I got to keep that same energy with those dudes. I will get on them. And Paul George will live up to the fact that he doesn't perform in the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard couldn't help his team win a championship, because remember, both Kawhi and LeBron, they're trying to gain history. If either one of those guys win, they would have won a third championship with a third different team. LeBron gets his fourth ring with a third different team. Kawhi gets a third championship with a different team. And the thing is, he goes from the West to the East, and he wins a ring. Then and a Finals MVP. Then he goes from East back to the West, and he wins a championship, and he wins a Finals MVP. Kawhi Leonard is going to look, and the thing is, you're going to have to ask yourself, where do you rank Kawhi Leonard if he wins third ring and a third Finals MVP? And this guy hasn't even won a regular season MVP yet. Um, so I got to ask you that question, Ari. If Kawhi Leonard, let's say the season does resume and Kawhi Leonard does win the NBA championship and he wins a third ring, he wins a third Finals MVP. This is his third different team, and he does it in obviously both the West and the East. Like, where do we put Kawhi Leonard, man? In terms of NBA history, where do we put him?
Man, that'll be tough because he don't have the points, the rebounds, the assists, the All-Star teams, All-Star MVPs, regular season MVPs. That'd be tough, man.
You know what? He says KP might go crazy because the Clippers have no shot blocking. Don't forget that they just added Joakim Noah, and they do have Zubac. So I think they're able to get with their chemistry. Remember, no Joakim Noah, he played well last year with Memphis in the small amount of time he did. And if he gets back in shape, Noah's going to give them that shot blocking presence that they have been needing. Let me see. Lou Will is solid. He is, but he's inconsistent in the playoffs. He has an issue in playing at home. He's a better road performer than home performer, which is weird. It's weird. More competition, less three-pointers, more mid-range for being more efficient. Like I said, I would love for the mid-range to come back. It would just eliminate the fact, because the thing is, when you look at the triangle, you can pretty much get just about any shot you want in the triangle, whether it's inside, whether it's an open jumper or an open three-pointer. So I don't know if you saw Dennis Rodman, guys. If you look at the details, y'all should go watch it on ESPN Plus. Dennis Rodman breaks down the triangle, and they said that the triangle often gives you, I believe it was 34 different options. I was like, God damn, 34 different options to score the. You get 34 options to score the basketball. Trust me, it doesn't matter how well your defense is played. I mean, they could take something away, but it's like you could once again go to something else. That's the benefit of having a system. When you have a system, there's so many things that you can go to. When you are the system, your system is predictable and the defense can game plan for you. It's a lot easier for them because they know what you're going to do. But if you have a system, you're much harder to guard because you can't take everything away. If they take something away, you got something else you can go to. And that's why it helps to be very skilled in a system. It helps to be skilled. When it comes to being a great player, with role players, it's different. Obviously, their job is to define a role. But with great skilled players, it helps to have a system because you have so many things you can go to. It makes you that much more dangerous to defend. G Money says true. Last year, Lou Will led the Clips in points and assists. Yeah, he did. But now it's like they upgraded. You got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George now. You got 2-star players on the team. Ryan says the same rules apply in the regular season to the playoffs. Keep the same energy, more favorable calls to certain players. I think he's talking about James Harden. Because I know with his free throw can go down in the playoffs. Jason says, I like to see a GPS on the ball to catch Harden on that step back. Oh my God, James Harden, man, with his, I told you, he always keeps his passport updated with the amount of that traffic. He says true, but he did that in the regular season. Lou Will is nice, but I need to see more consistency from him. PG and the role players, Kawhi and Harold will ball out. I'm gonna say this, man. I'm concerned with Montrezl Harrell and his focus, and the reason I say that is because he is the member of Club Sports. On top of the fact he is not a good pick and roll defender, and like I said before, if I'm Anthony Davis, I take advantage of that. Because he doesn't step out and guard. He likes to hang in the paint a lot. So I don't think Harold is as good of a defender as people claim him to be. Like I said, with the Golden State Warriors last year, they fell asleep and they were very lackadaisical with that team. They should have beat them sooner, to be honest. But they let that series stretch. Freddie says you have to slide your feet on defense. Anyone who plays knows when you're beat. Most players, their first reaction is to grab. True. If you can't stay with them, they're gonna grab the foul. I got the Lakers and the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. I hate to break it to you, that ain't gonna happen either. I hate to say it. You can stick with that, G-Money. I don't got an issue with that. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I'm telling you, the Clippers made their adjustments against Houston. And even though Russell Westbrook, the thing is, James Harden is the trump card. James Harden is the trump card. That's the thing, man. James Harden is the trump card. Lou Will led them as the lead man in points and assists. He's never been asked to do that until last year. Let me see. You think you're tanking, Jason? I mean, your team has a second best record in the East. Lou Will play well on the road, but he sucked at home last year. Yeah, he did. Brian says, just imagine if Kawhi wins a third ring in 13. On top of that, won a chip for a whole. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, he won a championship for Canada, and then he wins a championship for a franchise that's never won. Like, where do you rank that, man? That's going to be a nice question. That's going to be a future live, man. And if it does come back, it's gonna suck, man. Because I really wish that that the fans would be able to participate in the arenas, man. Because I feel like that the playoffs would be so much live. The crowds, they do play a factor when it comes to home court advantage. They really do. G Money says it doesn't matter, Freddie. I believe players should be consistent and on the road. Well, that's really what is going to really show your greatness, man. If you are able to prove it on both. The Warriors beat the Clippers 6, so 3 games at home and away. Yeah. We the North, he says we take it again with the Lario. Got you. Great players are consistent on both, not role players. You can't hold everyone to superstar standards. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Role players, they're supposed to play well at home. It's just Lou Williams is different. He plays well on the road. But Freddie B is right. You can't be holding role players at the standard to a superstar. But I will say that Lou Williams is he's gonna have to play better. Obviously, because Tyree, I don't know if you noticed, but Lou Williams, my issue with him is he tends to lean and fade a lot on his shot, where he could honestly, like, if he lines his center with the rim, he definitely could be more consistent. I feel like that's part of his issue. One, he takes bad shots, but on top of that, it's like when you look at his form and the way he shoots, he's always leaning instead of staying stationary to center himself to the basket.
I think that's due to from him being contested by taller players. So when the ball is being contested, he leans to try to get a better look at the rim, but it causes his jump shot to be off. But he's also trying to get a good shot, so that's what hurts him because he's being so small, trying to get a good shot. But when it's contested, he leans a lot to get a good open shot, which is a bad shot.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you with the when he goes up against taller players. But that's why I think that he should penetrate more. I don't trust Lou Will bringing the ball up. Him and Patrick Beverly, because they have issues holding it, and they got concentration issues when it comes to that. Because I have to give Avery Bradley credit and able to pester him on defense and disrupt him from bringing the ball up.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think that actually Kawhi Leonard, what they should do, since LeBron is playing point, they should have Kawhi Leonard running the point. Then you have Paul George running the 2. You have the Morris twin, he run a 3. You have Harold at 4, and whoever you want to put at 5. I will always keep the ball in Kawhi Leonard's hands, and especially if you're going up against the Lakers, that way you have LeBron playing point, and you have Kawhi playing point. So you always have a bigger point guard that's guarding LeBron James, and you can rest Paul George by having him cover, whoever the Lakers 2 is.
Let me see. I mean, to be honest, you can honestly. I was gonna say that you can also. I would say to take the responsibilities off of Kawhi Leonard. I say that Paul George and him could take turns, and it doesn't have to be like possession by possession. It could possibly even be in quarters too. If Paul George is in with the second unit, he could bring the ball up. Kawhi Leonard could bring the ball up. Depends on what quarter, but that's something that Doc Rivers is going to have to figure out, and they're going to have to communicate with that because I don't trust Lou Will, and I don't trust Pat Bev when it comes to bringing the ball up. And I think Pat Bev does a little too much talking. He needs to just focus on trying to defend. And I get that that's how he had to build himself in terms of reputation because he's not that, big of a player and all that. But it's like he needs to not focus on that and just try to just play basketball because they're going to need him.
Yeah, I think You're right with Doc Rivers. Also, Pat Bev. Doc Rivers need to use Pat Bev when you in situations like if you need give a foul or you need somebody to toughen a player in the third or fourth quarter, then you use Pat Bev. But I think Doc Rivers starting Pat Bev is not. I don't think that's a good move. Not in the playoffs.
Yeah. What I'll say. Oh, Ryan says, do you have to buy in order to watch the details, and how does it work? To answer your question, Ryan, you don't have to buy it. All you have to do is go to ESPN.com, and then if you go to where it says watch, you can just go to ESPN detail. It's actually up. Dennis Rodman, basically, he breaks down the detail on his rebounding, and then obviously with the triangle, he gets into that as well. He breaks everything down. So, definitely, guys, if you haven't, make sure you go check that out. You actually will learn a lot about the triangle more. He goes into deep detail, which shows you how intelligent and high basketball IQ Dennis Rodman has. And Jordan is on record as saying Dennis is one of the smartest players that he's ever played with. So G Money says, I get that. But like I said, Freddie, Lou Will was awesome on the road, but he was garbage at home. It doesn't matter that the series went long. He and PG need to perform in big games, and they don't. G Money says, Lou Will is a role player, not a star. I don't care that Lou Will is a role player. Teams win chips. If everyone does their part, it doesn't matter. New nickname alert. James Harden nickname is Bojangles. Let me see. Yeah, I just went. Where was it? Damn. Wait. Where was I at? I'm gonna give you some love. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna give you some love. Okay, Freddie says, okay, bro, if that was reality, you would be right. Robert Horry was consistent on the road, and at home he was a role player. That's true. I think 2003 was kind of when the wheels fall off when it came with him and the Lakers, though. That was actually his worst playoffs. But he did better when he went to San Antonio. He was huge for them in their 2005 championship. They didn't ask Robert Horry to be instant offense off the bench with no offensive structure. That's correct. We get no love. We either know if we're going back to back. Listen, like I said, the Raptors have a chance to defend their title. They really do. They're deep, but it's like I said before. My kind of wondering is it's going to be how Pascal Siakam formed now that Kawhi Leonard's not there. So that's going to be the question. And it's the same thing with Kyle Lowry, because you can see the difference in Kyle's behavior and the way he played when DeMar DeRozan was there compared to when Kawhi Leonard was there. So that calm demeanor really, really does help. So I'm hoping that Kyle Lowry learned from what Kawhi Leonard was able to bring last year and try to be the leader on this team to kind of get everybody down. And I agree with Freddie. It's going to have to really be team ball for this team to win this time, because they don't have a go-to player. And I don't know if Siakam is that go-to player. G-Money says, okay, but Big Shot Bob was big in clutch moments. He was, but again, he wasn't the guy that you look for instant offense, because remember, Lou Will is putting the ball on the floor. Robert Horry's not always doing that. Robert Horry is really more standstill. He's really a three-point shooter, and he has spots on the floor. He did it occasionally, sometimes, but that was role. That's why you have to understand. Lou Will is a sixth man. Robert Horry, he's a role player whose job is to defend the power forwards and at the same time, like, hit some shots. That was his role. So your role is very important. Lou Will has a bigger role than Robert Horry did in his career. Okay, I don't know about that, but I am. Freddie, who do you think will make the NBA Finals? Oh, now I got the clip. The thing is, I want to say the Bucks, but it's just like I don't know with that team. But the thing is, there's a few teams in the East that can defend the Bucks very well. So, and the pressure's on the Bucks. So, I mean, like I said, I got the Clippers coming out of the West, but like I said, I can see the Lakers coming out of the West too. Ryan says Kawhi is the GOAT. I mean, you could kind of say he's today's GOAT, if you want to put it that way. If they play, Lakers and Bucks would be my pick. I'm not mad at that. That's cool. Lakers and Bucks, like I said, I can see that. And I can also see, like I said, I see Clippers and Bucks for now. Clippers versus Raptors, the NBA Finals 2020. That'd be crazy if Kawhi actually would go against that team. That would be crazy. I think that'd be an exciting series. You got two good defensive teams. That'd be crazy. It's going to be the star power of the Clippers going up against the team ball of the Toronto Raptors. That would be crazy. You don't have the Clippers beating the Lakers? What? No, he doesn't, Freddie. He's been consistent from the get-go. He says he doesn't trust PG and Lou Will. And that's his biggest reason why. He doesn't trust those two players. He's been consistent. He had the Lakers going to the finals. Joel says, I got the Clippers and the Bucks in the finals. Cool. Not a bad pick. Jason said the Bucks. Giannis can't beat Gasol. All right. Low key, Lou Will is kind of has the same mindset as Sean Livingston when he posts and fades. At least with Sean Livingston, though, he has a consistent mid-range, though. That's the difference. Lou Will shoots anywhere on the floor. Sean Livingston was really mid-range, though. But at least Sean Livingston can hit it consistently. Lou Will is a great fourth-quarter player, too. He gets buckets late in the game. That's also a kind of, the Clippers have three different guys. I wonder who they're going to go to. Jason says Gasol, Ibaka, and our new blocker, Chris Boucher. I like Chris Boucher. I like OG Anunoby, too. I like them. Fred, I don't believe that the Clips have the talent and the consistency to beat the Lakers. No, the Clips have the talent. The consistency is going to be the question. Consistency is the question. The talent they have the talent. The Lakers have flaws, but they have more guys who have gotten it done in the playoffs. Please don't have a Kawhi running point. Let him run off screens to distract defense. I would have point guard PG, Lou Will, or Pat Bev, but Kawhi would mostly bring the ball up. Like I said, Doc Rivers is going to have to figure, like Tyree said, Doc Rivers is going to have to figure that out on how to do that. Lou Will balled in the fourth on the road, but he struggled on the fourth at home. I know. We're going to see in the playoffs. When Gasol plays versus Giannis, it's a defensive presence that forces Giannis. That's going to be the key with Giannis. Is he going to be able to get through that wall? His mid-range is going to be very key. I don't like – he's attempting threes, but like I said, when I look at his form, it's not a good look in the playoffs. He's going to have to do something mechanically with that. I don't like Kawhi trying to score 94 feet out. I like Kawhi 25 feet in to get the most out of it. No. I agree with you, Freddie. That's true. It's gonna have to be Paul George, most likely, to bring the ball up. If they're gonna have Kawhi coming off the screen, because Kawhi's very good in the open. Kawhi's actually very solid in the open court, and obviously he is a half-court player coming from that San Antonio system. Pat Bev is a playoff player, not a regular season player. Oh no, that's obvious. But like I said with Pat Bev, he needs to focus because he tends to he needs to stop about trying to injure players, because if that's it, that means that you really can't defend like that.
He needs to stop guarding LeBron.
He needs to stop guarding LeBron, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, because like I said, to me, he's more effective with LeBron if LeBron is standing more so at the three-point line. If it goes into post-up and if it goes to the top of the key, LeBron's going to eat him for lunch. So his best bet is to get Bron on the corner threes, because if he gets him, even if Bron gets him on the wings, that's just a mismatch for him to drive by him. So that's why I said that Doc Rivers is really going to have to game plan his defense. Like I said, because I feel like the Lakers got some favorable matchups if they really pay attention, study the film, and take advantage. But I agree with you, Tyree, in terms of LeBron may try to sabotage it just for his own ego if he's not careful, if the Lakers do get to the finals. Because I kind of see this LeBron AD thing as kind of LeBron Wade back in 2011, kind of low-key. That's neat that Rodman said that he watches MJ and Pip and shoot around to determine where the ball bounces off the rim. Like I said, that just tells you the intelligence of D-Rodman. It really shows you his intelligence. That just lets you know how intelligent he is. And that's why I could listen to Dennis, man, because he's very smart. He sounds like a head coach when he was breaking down that triangle. And like I said, y'all need to go watch that in detail. Freddie says, G-Money, Lakers have Bron and Danny Green. AD will perform, but I'm not counting on Danny Green, Rondo, Bradley, KCP, Morris, and Caruso. Nah, that ain't it, Chief. And Freddie D, you speaking big facts. That's my thing. That is my thing. Would you agree with that, Tari? Because my thing is that Danny Green, he could give you that. He could give you that one game, but you gotta hope that it's that one game. Avery Bradley is the same thing. You gotta hope it's that one game. Is Rajon Rondo going to run plays, or is he going to be a standstill 3-point shooter when LeBron is on the floor? You see how I'm going deep into detail, guys? This is what I'm talking about. Like, we can talk about the Clippers and their issues, and I just talked about it. But it's the same thing with the Lakers. That Freddie, he just said major factor right there. Markeith, you got Alex Caruso. Yeah, man, it's like you really do kind of have to question that. It's true. You got to kind of question that. Like I said, and that's why I said, and Freddie said, Kuz, nah, it's true. Kuz is scoring comes and goes, man. It comes and goes. G Money says Danny Green almost won a Finals MVP in 2013, but his first stroke, he can hit big shots in the playoffs. Did you see last year's playoffs? Did you see last year's playoffs? And I'm talking about he's playing with LeBron, bro. That's why I'm just kind of like, and the way he's been this season is because the funny thing is, Danny Green was actually the same last year. He was not that good in the regular season. And yeah, he had that one good game against the Warriors in the finals, but he was very inconsistent in the playoffs. The only way that I see Danny Green possibly having that one good game, it has to be against the Clippers if they meet in that Western Conference Finals. Because you could probably live off of the NBA Finals if they face a team like the Bucks, but against a deep team like the Clippers, I'm sorry, that ain't it, Chief. I agree with Freddie, bro. I'm surprised that you picked the Lakers, man. I'm shocked. Nah, I'm not surprised. And like I said, he's more looking at it from Lou Will and PG, but he doesn't feel that the Clippers have the talent. That's not true. The Clippers have the depth and they have the talent. The key is going to be their consistency. Freddie G, you know those out of nowhere players who you don't pay attention to much would have big games. Just look at the last Clips-Lakers game. Avery Bradley had a big game. It's true. Like I said, you're going to count on them for 7 games, man. That's the thing. You would have to hope that if it's a 3-3 tie, then that's crazy, though. I have to figure out how the season turns out and who gets home court advantage, because that's going to be key, too. The funny thing is, I think the Lakers are going to have home court either way because, let's look at it. It's a Lakers now, number one. Steve Ballmer did buy the Western Forum, so the Clippers will have their own arena. They will have their own arena in the next couple of years. Clips have playoff chokers other than Kawhi and Montrezl Harrell, and Rockets underperform in big moments. But then that's why I'm saying to myself, why would you got the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals? Because you have 2 of the biggest chokers there is in Russell Westbrook and James Harden. And that's with all due respect to those players. You saw what happened last year with James Harden. They should have beat the Warriors, man. No KD, you should have beat them. And Russell Westbrook, let's face it, that dude focuses so much on one-on-one matchups. And then the coaching of Mike D'Antoni, I got to question that. The Rockets have, like I said, they're a nice regular season team, but in the playoffs, they show their true colors. And that James Harden system ain't going to cut it, bro, especially if his free throws get cut down. Correct. I just won't count on the consistency. But the out-of-nowhere game, I can see that. Yeah, that's going to be the key for these players. It's that out-of-nowhere game. G-Money says, I give the Heat, Bucks, and Rockets a better chance to knock off the Lakers than the Clippers. What do you think about that, Tyree?
I disagree.
All right, let them know. Let them know. Why you think?
With the Heat, to me, Jimmy Butler's not a great leader, so I don't see the Heat matching up with the Lakers or Clips. There's nobody on LeBron James or Kawhi level. Giannis, I'm not sure how he's going to perform if you do build that wall. I don't count on his 3-point, and I don't count on Kim driving and getting open lanes. Also, with the Rockets, they're just too small. The Rockets don't have anybody, nobody big enough to guard the Lakers or the Clippers. They're just too small for me.
Okay, for me, when I look at this, like I said, the Miami Heat, they have offensive issues, and with the way that Jimmy Butler's scoring the ball, he's going to have to score enough in order for them to stay with their Lakers. Like I said, their defense is going to keep them in games. But like I said, I don't know if they have another gear to go to because remember, they have two dominant players and the Heat don't even have one. They just have a deep team, but they don't have dominant players, and you need dominant players in the playoffs. With the Bucks, again, they don't have their only dominant player is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and like Tyrese said, once that wall is built up, Chris Middleton is not a dominant player, and Eric Bledsoe plays well on the open floor. He doesn't play well in the half court. You put him in the half court, that's where he's become a very big liability. So when it comes to the Houston Rockets, I just said it. Whose system are we playing? The Russell Westbrook system, or are we playing the James Harden system? Now, I give Russell a lot of credit. He cut down his 3-pointers. He's posting up a lot more. He's driving to the basket, and his efficiency has improved. But again, James Harden can be very, very selfish. And at what point is James Harden going to say, you know what, coach? I think we could be more effective in the playoffs if we play my style of play. I would not be surprised if James Harden goes back to that, and then he uses that as an excuse as to why he can't play defense because he has to carry the team and all this kind of stuff. You got to be able to defend in the playoffs, even if we're in an era, if we're in a defenseless era. You got to play some level of defense, and I just don't trust James Harden. And Russell Westbrook is lazy on defense himself, even though he took stride last year. But again, Westbrook, if he goes up against a player that can psych him out of the game, that's going to be a problem for Russell Westbrook too. And like I said, I don't trust Mike D'Antoni's coaching. Freddie says the only way that Pat Bev can hold Bron to the max level is on switches. If Bron gives up, Pat Bev denies Bron the ball for 3 out of 5 seconds every time to eat at the clock. That's the win for the Clips. I agree with that. I just said that if you put him on an island at the top of the key, that's lunch meat for LeBron James. I said if you put him in the post, that's lunch meat for LeBron James. They're going to have to double him. So it's going to have to be, I told you, if he's in the corner threes, Pat Bev has got a chance, 3 to 5 seconds. Other than that, I don't see him guarding LeBron. And that's why I said that LeBron, he better be on his P's and Q's and take advantage of that, because the last thing you want the media and people saying is you got locked up by Pat Beverly, because they've been saying that since Christmas. It's already bad enough that people have talked about you got locked up by Jason Terry and got outplayed by him, and that's just not a good look, especially at this point in your career. Rondo, McGee, and Howard have performed in the playoffs. Once again, the LeBron system. I'm talking about the LeBron James system. That's my issue with that. That's my thing. Who else is scoring besides AD and Bron? Exactly. Thank you, sir. 60 points between the two, but if they have to score 110, who gets the other 50 consistently? And that's going to be the issue with the Lakers. If they don't get into because they're a high-scoring team, but it's like if they're going against a very superior offensive team, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem for the Lakers because Bron and AD, they're going to cook. The question is the rest of the team. So you could say they performed in the playoffs and whatever you want. Who's going to get them those consistent buckets? Let's see. All right, Ryan says the Lakers versus the Clip home court is non-valid. I said it's a Laker town. That's the thing. Even though it may seem like it's not valid, but that's a Laker town. So Clips are going to be, to me, underdogs that whole series. So it's going to be up to the Clips to change their paradigm. They're going to have to beat the Lakers. It's pretty much the Lakers. It's pretty much Lakers and Laker fans against the Clips. And I'm not saying that there aren't Clipper fans, but that's a Laker town. So the Clips, they got to use that as motivation if they're going to beat the Lakers. So it doesn't matter whether home or road. Who's going to be consistent enough to help Kawhi and Harold in big moments? Other than those guys, I think the Clips will choke in the big moments. Wait and see. Remember, the Clippers, we may say that, but like I said, the Clippers, they can score off the bench. They got scores off the bench. The Lakers don't have a consistent score off the bench. Harden and Russ choke, but not as much as PG and Lou will. I'm sorry. I don't know where you've been watching, but did you see James Harden in the 2012 finals? Did you see James Harden in 2017 against the Spurs in Game 6? The Warriors in Game 7, and then also, I mean, you could even look at 2015 to be honest. And then on top of that, against the Warriors, and then in 2019 against the Warriors. Yeah. And Russell Westbrook, like I said, his last couple of seasons will already tell you. Bron will slow the game down as always. So you have to match Bron scoring or make the right play every time down. That's why Bron is clutch in the playoffs because he makes each possession count. I can somewhat agree with that.
Yeah, I can
Um,
agree. If it's in the East, I could somewhat would agree with that.
Because the thing is, LeBron's going to have to prove it in the West
Right.
with AD, obviously, but again, that's why I said that LeBron system thing is going to be important. That's why I said that I really wish LeBron really would have worked on his skills more because I would have said that LeBron would be the most dangerous player in the NBA. I'm not saying that he's not dangerous because he still is. You can't play dumb basketball for 5 to 7 straight minutes against Bron or he would leave you in the dust. Oh, that's obvious. That's obvious. You can't play dumb. Again, give Bron his credit. That's what shows how great he is. And again, individual IQ. Like I said, the matchups have to be favorable for his IQ to show. Because if it comes to team IQ, that's where Bron is at his weakness. Bron will give the refs their allowances in the playoffs. Oh man, he already got his whole team of Clutch Sports and ESPN. So yeah, you already know. He got that bag. He making sure he gonna get his team to go to the bank. He have dogs on their team. Bucks have the depth, the firepower. Like I said, the Bucks, their firepower is smoke and mirrors. The playoffs are going to show that. You'll see. And the Rockets is wishful thinking. They're going to have to get hot. See, I told you that's the importance of running a system. That's the importance of running a system. He said, "Stop." He said, "Stop." That's a hot take. Again, but everybody's opinion is. I don't know where Layla's at. Layla probably busy. If the Spurs beat the Warriors in 2017, do you think they beat the Cavs in the NBA Finals? What you think about that one? Do they beat them in the 2017 NBA Finals?
No. I think the Cavs had the best team in 2017.
I would say that too because the Cavs are the more talented team. I know that it takes a team to win the game. But if you look at LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't even trust him against Kevin Love, to be honest with you. And if you look at that matchup, Kevin Love can stretch the floor. And he can shoot threes pretty much anywhere, whereas LaMarcus Aldridge is more so a mid-range shooter. He's not a three-point shooter.
And that takes LaMarcus Aldridge off the paint, so that gives LeBron and Kyrie Irving
the spacing that they need. Yeah,
right.
They're going to get more opportunities. For the fact that Kevin Love can stretch the floor, that's going to open the paint. So I don't see the Spurs beating, even with Kawhi Leonard, man.
And that's going to help Cavs with the rebounding as well.
Exactly. And then you look at Tristan Thompson. I feel like the Cavs have the better rebounding than the Spurs do. Bojangles Harden don't play defense. He focuses on Euro dancing. Yep. G Money, McGee, Howard, Kuz, Bradley, Rondo, Danny Green are not half-court scorers. Thank you, sir. They will rely on Bron and AD to give them the ball off double teams and penetration. That's correct. That is facts. And he also says the playoffs is about half-court basketball, which I agree with. The Lakers have dependent offensive scorers, not shot creators and playmakers. That's what I keep saying. Okay, but Shaman, Morris, PG, Reggie Jackson, and Lou Will don't perform in the big moments. You can't say Landry Shaman because Landry Shaman has only been in the league, 2-3 years? So that really don't count. Marcus Morris, his issues is he gets too much. He's too emotional. Doc Rivers is going to have to control the emotions of this Clipper team because they have a lot of. I thought Reggie. Oh, you know what? Reggie Jackson actually should bring the ball up. He actually played pretty well. He's played pretty well since coming with the Clippers. So I could see Reggie Jackson bringing the ball up. But Reggie Jackson really hasn't been in the playoffs much. Paul George actually has more experience than pretty much all those guys, to be honest. He also says the Clips don't have the dynamic playoff playmakers like Kawhi and Harrell. Ryan says the 2000s. Okay. Ryan says the 2017 Spurs versus Cavs. Yeah, Morris is way more. Actually, they're both Morris's brothers are emotional. Actually, both Eminems are emotional. Ryan says the 2017 Spurs versus Cavs. Well, Kawhi Leonard and Tony Parker were both hurt. Spurs versus Cavs, Kyrie would burn Parker in that matchup. Yeah, he would, because Kyrie, he's got the dribble, Kyrie's got the quickness, and Kyrie could obviously space the floor because he could score in so many different ways. Tony Parker would have a hard time keeping up with him. And Tony Parker is more mid-range. Kyrie can shoot pretty much anywhere. Shout out to Moko. She says it's a 12th like. Appreciate you. Let me see. G Money says Tony Parker. Oh no. Here, I already said that. Especially playing against Bron, it seems like. Yeah. Freddie says maybe I like Lou Will because he's from Georgia, so I might be a homer. No doubt. I know you wish he was playing for your Atlanta Hawks too, right? That'd be what's up. So I'm just gonna ask about 2 or 3 more questions, and then we're gonna close out. A lot of people didn't show up, but I thought the stream was still pretty solid. And like I said, I want to thank my guest Tyree for being here. I definitely gonna do live streams for these playoffs. Like I said, man, it would be so great if the fans would be able to go into the arenas, amid this pandemic, man. It would be so awesome because the live streams would be so lit with everybody coming through. And like I said, I definitely want to do that. So when things come back. What was I gonna say? Oh, in your personal opinion, Tyree, who other than the Lakers and the Clippers do you actually no, I wanted to ask you this question because I want to get to the young guys and these 2 guys. That battle for that 8th spot in the West. Who you got for that 8th spot? Do you have the Pelicans who are surging, or do you think the Grizzlies are going to hold on to that 8th spot? And we're talking about the 2 featured rookies with John Morant and, of course, that beast Zion Williamson.
First, I would like to say shout out to Freddie G. I appreciate that, bro. Also, I think the Memphis Grizzlies, bro. I don't believe in the Pelicans. Alvin Gentry, I'm not sure he knows who to start and who to bench. So it's the Pelicans, they inconsistent. I think with John Morant, at least John Morant, he's that guy. So I think they're gonna hold on to that 8th seed. With the Pelicans, it's just too inconsistent for me right now. I think they need one more year, but I also believe that the Pelicans need to get rid of a few players and tell somebody who team it is. They need to give it to Lonzo or they need to give it to Zion, but they have to have a star on that team. Right now, the Grizzlies have a star, and that's John Morant, and everybody else are role players. So I'll give the AC to the Grizzlies.
You know what? This is kind of tough just because of the fact that the Grizzlies, they have the toughest schedule out of the other teams that are performing for that 8th and final playoff spot. The Grizzlies have the young talent. What I will agree with you on the Pelicans is they need to get rid of Alvin Gentry because he's not the coach for that team. I'm sorry, he's not. His rotations are so messed up. He always never knows when to put in Zion in the game. And the funny thing is that when Zion's in the game, they're much more impactful and they stay in games. And then for some reason, when Brandon Ingram comes in, they get away from what they're doing. And then all of a sudden, then the other team, the lead, it grows when they're in the game. And the thing is, Brandon Ingram has the ball in his hands a lot. So he's not somebody that really plays off the ball, whereas Zion does. And there are a couple of players on that team that they do need to get rid of in order to build. And I agree with you. They really do have to figure out whose team is it. So I did pick the Pelicans just because they were surging. But I do think that the Grizzlies will actually hold on to that 8th and final playoff spot. So I'm actually changing my pick because originally I did have the Pelicans just because they were surging. And I just thought that they were, but it's like they're going to have, you never know what Pelicans team you're going to get or who's going to show up. So they're very Jekyll and Hyde. So I agree with you. I think the Grizzlies will hold on to that 8th and final playoff spot. And I got John Morant as the rookie of the year over Zion.
I also have John Morant rookie of the year over Zion. To me, Zion is a nice, explosive, energy player, but that's all I see.
You're only going to see that, though, because remember, Zion's a rookie. Obviously, he's a rookie like John Morant, but the thing is with Zion is that Zion plays off of his athleticism. So he still has to work on his jump shot. He also has to lose weight to avoid injuries. And like I said, I feel like for somebody as athletic as Zion, he needs to watch how LeBron lands when LeBron dunks the basketball, because the way that LeBron lands is part of the reason that LeBron hasn't been, getting injured. So people can talk about, the steroids and all that, but I will give LeBron credit on this part. He's learned how to avoid leg and knee injuries with the way he lands when he dunks the ball, whether it's on a breakaway or with contact. He's really learned. I got to give LeBron a lot of credit. He knows how to land right with his forefoot, which prevents him from not hyperextending his knee or getting an ankle injury. And he's had a couple of nicks and bruises, but at the same time, though, he's very smart in the way he lands. So I got to give LeBron a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, with Zion, I've been watching him closely. I live in Louisiana, so I try to catch a lot of Pelicans game. Zion, he doesn't put up as much effort on defense as you think somebody that's 19 should. His form at shooting, I don't trust his shooting. If he's not 10 feet to the rim or attacking the rim, I think he's hurting the team a lot. That's why I don't believe they will be able to make the A seed.
Yeah. And you also got a question like, some of the other players. Shout out to Tomoko, who says, here's a basketball joke. Why can't basketball players go on vacation because they can't travel? That's obvious. Ryan says, Grizzlies, Pelicans not really coming together. They were winning some games, but I just think that even though the Grizzlies have a tougher schedule, I think that they're the more complete team together. They have an identity. The Pelicans are kind of everywhere. So I came to